Welcome back to our third in our series of contest conversations with the Word Guild. I am so excited to be chatting with everyone again this week with one of our winners from the 2020 Word Awards. And this week we are so excited to be chatting with Janet Surette, who is mother to three strong daughters and wife to one good man. She learns, loves, and serves with family at South Shore Bible Church in Barrie, Ontario. And Janet has been a women's Bible teacher at conferences and retreats for almost 2 decades. She is a contributing writer for the Gospel Coalition Canada in matters of Christian living. She has a collection of articles for Christian women on her website about the intersection of biblical wisdom and everyday life. And more recently, Janet has emerged as a fresh and welcome voice in the world of children's literature. And this most recent venture has awarded her the Grace Irwin Best New Canadian Book of the Year Award, along with Best Children's Book and Best Cover Award for her entry of Scarlet Spectacle in this past year's 2020 Word Awards. So we are so excited to chat today with Janet. Welcome and congratulations.
Thank you. It's always exciting to have good news brought up again. So I'm happy to chat again about it.
Absolutely. So why don't we start by you telling us a little bit about why you decided to venture into this world of children's books after two decades of working in women's ministry?
Well, I think like for a lot of people, it probably starts with having your own children. And you go into bookstores and you're looking for certain resources. And I found that there were just a few resources that I didn't see there. I wanted to impart biblical truth primarily, but just really life-changing things to my girls, and found that I couldn't find exactly what I was looking for, or I couldn't find it packaged in a way that I thought would really intrigue them. So I just started to play around with it. I always loved English growing up, never really thought to go into it, because unfortunately, I don't think enough students are funneled in that direction. It would actually be nice if they were made more aware of what they could do, which I try to bring up when I go into schools. But I just started to play around with it. And I'm used to working with words with women. So I thought I'd learn what it looked like to do that with children. And so I self-published a book back in 2010 called The Prince and the Gift. And that has done well for a self-published book. But after just maybe a bit of frustration over some of the limitations I experienced with that, and at my husband's, with his support, he said, why don't you go ahead and really just give it a whirl and try to do what you need to do to be traditionally published, because I had been dragging my feet on some of those things. And so then went to my first conference, and I say it was there that I had my dreams appropriately crushed and then logically rebuilt, which was a necessary thing to have happen.
I feel like we might need to get into that a little bit more for people who are pursuing writing children's book a little later. So you have children, you see that there's a gap in what you would like to see for them in published world. What made you think that this book idea, Scarlet Spectacle, would be a great idea to share with your children as well as other children?
Well, it just came as an idea. My youngest daughter her name is Scarlett, and she, of my three, would particularly focus on what was critical or what was negative. And I found she was very quick to complain, instead of choosing to see everything that could be good, because we know God is a good God and he is sovereign. And so there are things to see in every circumstance that would be good. So it's a training. And so just using that example with her one day, I thought, that might have some merit elsewhere. And having been to a conference and realizing how I had to change the packaging of my books, I drafted this book with that in mind, just putting it in a message I believed in, but putting it in a package that seemed to be selling.
Oh, I love how you're combining sort of that, keeping your message of what you wanted to share, but doing it in a way that could help to reach more children based on sort of what's popular or being asked for within books right now. I want to be able to share a small section of this for anybody who might be listening or watching this call afterwards, to give a sense of what an award-winning children's book might look like, because this is just fantastic. I know when I was chatting with Janet before we went live, I want this book for my children because gratitude is a huge thing. I think it's really important for all children as well as adults. I'm a real huge gratitude advocate, and this book just pins so well what as mothers and children we really want to be embracing and sharing with our children about God's message around this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with everyone so that we can actually take a little peek at this story. We won't share the whole thing, but just a little snapshot from the beginning. Here we are. And I will read it with my best children's voice. This is something I get to do all the time with my job. Scarlet Spectacle, a cheerful choice for a happy heart. Scarlet was a lovely girl, no one could deny, but little things throughout her day would make her whine and cry. To go to bed, to take a bath, to tidy up her room, she'd slump her shoulders, plump her lip, and scrunch her face with gloom. I have to go, or this is it, or can't I have more time, or he got more than me, no fair. She'd holler, pout, and whine. Scarlet's mama hugged her close and murmured with a kiss, my dear, God's given so much good, but most of it you miss. Everyone has glasses, a glad and grumbly pair, and every day it's up to us to choose the pair we'll wear. As comfy as your grumblies feel, they only show what's dreary. The glad pair might feel strange at first, but shows what's good and cheery. I could just go on and read the entire book, but I feel like we need to have a reason for people to go out and buy it. It is so lovely. Congrats on the beautiful lyrical tone to it. And the illustrations, again, I chatted with you beforehand, really pair so nicely with it. It's just such a great combination. It's so draws you in as a mom reading it, but I think kids really will be drawn to it as well.
Thank you. Yes, Shane Crampton did a fantastic job. She's just lovely to work with, and I hope to do it again.
Excellent. Yes, we would love to see more of her drawings with that. Again, I don't know whether they'll be with your future books or not, but they're beautiful drawings for sure. And I love the rhyming tone of it. I love reading in rhyme too. It's just a wonderful way to read children's books. So I'm curious then, after winning this award, how has the Grace Irwin Best Canadian Book of the Year assisted you in your writing journey going forward?
Well, I'd say it has impact in two ways. One is more personal. I think as much as we all have people, if we're all writing, we have people in our lives who support us tremendously and think we're the best writers in the world. And we all, we're writing things that the whole world should buy. But we also, I think, all have skeptics in our lives. And I think people, whether it's in their tone or whether it's actually expressed in one way or another, sometimes people think, well, you're not really a writer unless or until, and then they insert whatever their definition is of a real writer, along the spectrum of what we accomplish. So to have an outside objective voice from an organization that has nothing to gain, in a sense, to have them say that your writing is credible is incredible. It's very validating. So that was just on a personal level, extremely lovely after many years of people, wondering, are you actually a writer? And then professionally, it is just such a valuable thing, the contest on many levels. For one, I was stunned, and we could talk more about this, but just stunned that you gave feedback, that there was critique, because honestly, critique is one of the most valuable things writers can get, and they often don't get it, or it's just another thing that they have to go after and they're busy and it's hard. Mm-hmm. So the fact that included in your cost of entry, you actually get industry feedback is phenomenal. And then for myself, I'm connected on social media with some of the editors that I've worked with. And although I can't link for certain a cause and effect, 2 weeks after I won that award, my agent contacted me and told me that they were the same, was reviewing us later. I had the second contract. So can you say they're connected? Not exactly, but I definitely think it didn't hurt So just to see, those opportunities to see that publicly somebody else has put their stamp of approval on your work is a tremendous asset and benefit to, I think, any writer's career. And then you put that in future proposals, right? All of that strengthens any future proposal you send to agents or publishers. So I was wildly thankful for the outcome of that.
Yes, and I will say as well, I know when I did the unpublished in the beginning competition, it was the same thing. That feedback was actually a huge part of what inspired me to want to go on. When I get really positive, but also constructive feedback, it helps you understand and realize where you need to go next, what you need to improve on in order for your next story to be able to reach readers.
Absolutely.
Which is, really important. Thank you for sharing that. It's interesting to see. And I know how slow publishing can work. So I don't think that 2 weeks is not related. I think there's got to be something related there, because that's a fast turnaround time from when they heard to when you all of a sudden got your next contract. So I'd love for you to share with us a little bit more about what those next contracts look like. What types of stories can we expect to see from you in the near future?
Well, the next one I have coming out is scheduled to come out July 13th. It's with the New York publisher Skyhorse, which maybe you've heard of. And
Yes, excellent.
this is a slight departure from what I've done so far in that it's a general market book. So it's called Grandma Lessons, and it's just an adorable, kind of comical celebration of that relationship with grandmothers and their grandchildren. And then the next one coming out is with the same publisher as Scarlet Spectacle. So B&H Publishing is putting out a book called The Christmas Quest, and that is coming out September 28th. So I was disappointed I didn't have anything to enter in the contest this year, but I'll definitely make up for it next year and send in what I have. So I'm excited about these. And the second one actually, and the one for September, is fully done. We just signed off on that actually Friday. So it's exciting to know that that's on its way to the printer, and off we go.
That's so exciting. Now, I forgot to mention to those who are on the call today, if you do have any specific questions for Janet regarding publications around children's books or writing in general, please feel free to add them into the chat, because we do have a couple of extra minutes before we end our conversation today. I did want to ask a couple more questions while we give people time to enter those questions if they do have. I know you said you mentioned that these books will be coming out soon. If people wanted to get a copy of these books, where would they go to find more information about you, as well as being able to purchase a book?
Well, I have a website, janetsurette.com, although I don't, I just have links really to Amazon through there. I let them deal with the shipping. So if you,
We just have Janet frozen for a moment. We'll give her internet a chance to catch up with her. But I believe she was saying that you can go to her website and that she does have books available through Amazon. And she's back.
Sorry, yeah, a little glitch there.
No,
yeah, so I think Amazon is probably the best bet for sure.
Excellent. And again, I just had one other question that came up when you said that you had books coming out through a general market press. Some people might feel like that, oh, well, then I can't enter into the Word Awards because this is a Christian-based writing group. But are you still able to include entries that might have a Christian worldview, but are published through a general publisher?
Are you asking that of me?
Yeah, I'm curious if you've looked into it or not.
Well, it's my understanding, I could be wrong, but it's my understanding that there is a general market category of the Word Awards. Okay, that was a quiz. Okay,
that was a quiz. That was a planted question. when you mentioned that you were going to enter books for next year, I thought maybe you had looked into that. And I wanted to share that too, because I know that's something that some authors will feel like, oh, but I'm not publishing through a Christian-based press. Does that mean I can't enter? And the question is, no, you can still enter as long as you are a Christian and you are writing with a Christian sort of mindset to your literature, then absolutely you can still enter. And I think that's a really important message for people to be aware of too, because there's Sarah Davison, who we might get a chance to chat with next week, has a beautiful way of describing how God needs authors across all areas of writing. Those who are writing directly to to Christians in the Christian market and those who are writing as Christians to the broader world in hopes of being able to share that message for others who might be seeking. So I think that's wonderful that you have books coming out through both presses next year, and we'll be excited to see whether we get to see them in the Word Awards. That'll be fun.
Can I mention one other thing? Because you had asked me about, one of the questions we talked about was any advice for authors, and we already talked about the critique. But I thought this was kind of timely, so I just want to let you know, and I have nothing to gain from this, so I think I can tell you. But just on Friday, I received my copy of this, Writing and Selling Children's Book for the Christian Market. So Kyle Young is my agent. Michelle Medlock-Adams has put out a ton of books. This is fantastic. I whipped through it this weekend, and it really covers everything from writing and rhyming, all the different categories in Christian literature, networking, how to do a book signing. So for anyone who is really looking for how to get into the Christian, specifically Christian children's market, I was just delighted to see that. I got to contribute a whopping 2 pages to it. But there's just, and it's a real compilation with from a lot of people with some great industry knowledge. So I just wanted to mention that because that's brand new to my bookshelf.
Excellent. That's so exciting. And I think that's a great piece of advice. Is there any other advice you have for someone who's thinking about entering a children's book in the Word Awards for this year?
Sorry, you still there? Okay, sorry. Any advice for someone entering the children's book world in general? I just lost the last
Word
bit of what you said.
Awards, if they're planning to enter for the Word Awards, or if they're trying to get into publishing, what advice would you have for them other than that book that you had just recommended? Any other pieces of advice to pass along?
I think the big one is to make sure, and it sounds almost crass, but make sure your work is good. I think sometimes what happens is people, especially with children's book, they'll read one and think, I could do better than that. And so they'll slap a book together and then they'll put it out there. But our aim is to really make it's like any product, right? If you want someone to part with their money, our job is to give them the best possible product that we can. And if you want to get the attention of publishers and agents, it needs to be polished. So we have to learn. I met with a woman last week who was disillusioned with a self-published children's book she did. And so I asked her who had edited it. And she said she self-edited. And so that's just my, and then the problem is they're stuck spending more and more money to buy marketing packages to market a book that they don't know if it's actually good or saleable by industry standards. So I think just to help people out in the long run is put your work in at the beginning and get those critiques, get to contests. Like I mentioned earlier, the fact that the Word Awards also give you a critique is huge. At my first conference, I sat across from an agent and I had paid to get a few critiques. And I sat across from her and I said, I'm a big girl. I don't need this. I love my family. I love my church. I love my community. But if I'm supposed to do this, I don't want to be a poor steward of what I'm given, but I also don't want to waste my time. So please just tell me if I'm barking up the right tree. And I think we need to make sure that we are vulnerable enough to have those conversations with people so that we can hone our skill and make sure that we're presenting things to the world that are valuable and beneficial.
Excellent. I think that's really great advice. And I know through the Word Guild, there is a number of editors that you can find out who do freelance work and can provide their information. So if you are in a position where you're thinking about self-publishing or you want to submit to an agent or a publisher, you can use those resources ahead of time to make sure that you are submitting that is something that is the best work that you can. So that's great advice. Thank you so much, Janet. If there's no one who has any additional questions for today, we will say thank you again for Janet, and we would ask that people come back. Next week, we have a final guest possible duo, but mostly just one, from the Deborah Faguth Social Justice Award. We will be chatting with Ruth Coghill next week, 2:00 Eastern Daylight Savings Time on the following Monday, and that will be our last contest conversation prior to the deadline for this year's Word Awards, which will be on March 30th or 31st. So make sure that you have not entered yet to go check out the website. You still have time, and you could be in Janet's position next year. You never know. So again, thank you so much, Janet, for joining us today. We so appreciate your time and congrats.
Great, thank you.